Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to your Lunch Break Live. My name is Ivana Harinkyu if you are new here, and if you're not, thank you for coming back. It is Thursday, February the 3rd, and we have what I think is going to be a really fun conversation today. I am joined by somebody who is probably a familiar face at this point. This is our own AL.com columnist, Roy S. Johnson, and Roy is here today to talk a little bit about something that we have been working on at AL.com behind the scenes for more than a year now, and that is our Alabama Vintage Instagram account. Our Alabama Vintage account is also going to expand beyond Instagram. So if you're not on Instagram, don't worry, keep listening. And we are relaunching this brand to tell a more inclusive history of Alabama. This has been a project that Roy and I have both gotten to work on, along with several other members of our team here at AL.com. And it's been fun. It has been stressful, I think it's fair to say, at times. And it has been enlightening to look at some of the people whose stories we're going to tell. So, Roy, I'm going to let you kind of explain to us. I know you have a column on AL.com this morning, but tell us a little bit about why we are relaunching Alabama Vintage.
Ivana, I'm so excited about this opportunity for a lot of reasons. First and foremost, it is an opportunity for us to repaint the portrait, tell the narrative about the state of Alabama. In April, I would have been here now for 8 years. And one thing is very clear to me is that we are more than what we show. And through our reporting and through our own understanding, we know that this state has been complicit for decades and just leaving certain communities and certain people out of the narrative that it tells to itself, that it teaches, and that we share with others outside of our state. So I'm excited about the opportunity to undo that damage, to fill in the gaps that have been left behind, to celebrate those communities that have been, covered up through the years. And what's really good about this is that it's a collaborative effort. It's not just us. We are reaching out to every institution, colleges, historically Black colleges, other universities, families, historic families, just to share with us their stories and their images. We all know the adage that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and every picture tells a story. We are going to tell every story that is available to us. So we reached out today and ask people, if you have images, whether it's scrapbooks or archives. We're reaching out to churches for their archives, reaching out to institution Kiwanis clubs and things like that. Show us a part of life that we have not celebrated, whether it's Native American, Asian American, Hispanic, African American, women, all the different communities that have been left out. This is an effort, an intentional effort, to shed light on those communities and to showcase the broad spectrum of who we are in Alabama, who we've been historically, showing people living life, playing, celebrating cotillions, birthday parties, picnics. Our archives are full of images that show the civil rights struggle, right? Show people marching, show houses bombed. But what were those people doing on other days? What were they doing on Sundays and Saturdays with their families? So, let's take this opportunity. This is not just AL.com. This is everyone who wants to share their story across the state and across the world, to show that we are more than what we've shown Alabama. And so I'm excited about the opportunity to work with anyone and everyone in order to do that.
Well, and something we should note too is one of our managers here, Jeremy Gray, has been working on this project for about 6 or 7 years now on this Instagram account to pull these photos and to share them, to tell stories. So this is not to undermine any of that work. This is expanding on that work. He's done an awesome job of doing that. And so now we just kind of want to make it even more clear. He's already been telling that inclusive history, and we just want to make it more clear that that's the point. We know that our state archives have even pretty recently announced that they have been sharing a whitewashed history for years. We know that there has been some neglectful reporting of institutions, even like ourselves in the past, covering the civil rights movement, covering the history of Alabama. We know recently we have read our colleague Kyle Whitmire's series, State of Denial, about how so many of these things have shaped Alabama and how white supremacy was really written into the Constitution here. And This is a chance to say, look, 5 million people call this state home. Here's more about them. And I think that, Roy, listening to you talk, listening to Jeremy talk about this, it's so inspiring. But I also like to step back and kind of hear what you just had to say. This is not, doesn't have to be so serious. This is also sharing fun images from people who have not had their stories told. Black Alabamians, Native Americans in Alabama, people in the LGBTQ plus community throughout our history, and all other people, all other folks that call this state home. It's serious, but there's a fun aspect of this too. There are some photos that kind of make you giggle, make you question what in the world is happening here. It's just a fun thing. So while we talk about that, and I'll let you kind of expand on that, I'm going to show you our new logo here. So one of our producers, Monica Keener, worked so hard to produce this logo. And what I think is really cool, and we'll allow you to kind of zoom in on it. I'll give you the file and we'll drop this here in the comments. But you can see that each photo in these different letters represent some of these different people who we're talking about. So, Roy, I know that this was important to launch during Black History Month. Tell us a little bit about why we're doing that. And also, again, some of these people that we're going to be covering, it's not going to always be names that you've heard before.
Oh, absolutely. And I want to make a couple of points clear. This is not an effort to erase anybody's history. This is an effort to expand and to celebrate and just to broaden the narrative about who we are and who we've been. Some of the images that we've already placed on Instagram, and as you mentioned, Jeremy's done a great job with this since 2015 and over the last year, just layering in new and insightful photos. Some of the ones that generated the most interest are those that you wouldn't expect. They were showing kids dancing, at a time, at a local a dance in a basement. We've all been to basement dances. We grew up, home house parties, kids doing that, people out picnicking, people celebrating birthday parties, little girls at cotillions, and little boys and girls going to dances, and just showing people living life. We have wonderful pictures of some of our civil rights leaders, but they're smiling. They're having a good time. They aren't so stern faced. So it's important for us, and we are really looking forward to just painting that broader portrait and showing people having fun. We've reached out to some families and just said, send us some family photos. Send us the family reunion photos. Let's see some of our iconic leaders with their grandkids, or even seeing them young playing with their moms and dads and cousins at family reunions, at school, in the playground, just living life. There's a wonderful picture on Instagram of a gentleman just with his, I believe it's his granddaughter, on a swing. He's dressed up as particularly as a lot of Black men did during that era. She's dressed up there on the swing. So you think it's like maybe Sunday after church. And that's what I tend to do when I look at these pictures. I look into these people's eyes and try to think, who were they? These were not people often that we recognize. They aren't all celebrated leaders. They were just people going about their daily lives. And there's so many people that helped shape us that aren't in the history books, that haven't been celebrated for the efforts that they made. They may have been school teachers. They may have been the pastor of a church. They may have been the leader of a Boy Scout troop. And so to now give them light, to show their faces, to see their expressions, it makes me a little bit sad sometimes that they didn't get that light. But I'm just always curious as a journalist as to who is this person? What were they thinking at the time? What was going on in their mind? What were some of the frustrations that they were dealing with that they put aside just to have this moment with a relative or with friends, seeing students, girls who were in college studying, at a study group out in the park, when we knew that there were things going on in the country and in the state that were very tragic, that were very tough. But despite all of those things, people went about their daily lives. They celebrated each other. They uplifted each other. They had fun with each other. Those are the images that we want to give rise to. And some of the images are not going to be easy to look at too. We have also shared some images that are very stark, that are that remind us of the difficulties in some of the path and the journey that this state has gone on. So together, though, they all represent and will broaden who we are, and they will educate us, and particularly at this time when we are unfortunately in its midst of debating about critical race theory and some aspects of history that have people twisted up and worried about how we're teaching each other. This is an opportunity for us to dive in and say, look, here's some images that can just help enlighten all of us, to show all the aspects of who we are. It's not taking sides. It is showing that this is who we are as we're living, as we're smiling, as we're going about our daily lives. And hopefully, as you go along this journey with us, you'll be surprised every day or several times a week and say, I didn't know about that community. I didn't know about the Native American celebrations that have gone on here for decades. I didn't know about the women's college that existed 30, 40 years ago because maybe women weren't being allowed in certain institutions. I didn't know that. So if we can surprise you and enlighten you and uplift you, and every once in a while it might frighten you or make you feel a little bit sad about what transpired, but it's all part of who we were, how we got here, and will help us moving forward to be better than we are today.
And, Roy, you and I have worked on this project together, and it has been so interesting to go through these photos to really kind of make this submission. And something that I think I am very happy to see when we have been working on this project, and now as Jeremy sets up the different photos to share on this account, is that when you really step back and in a time of just so much division, we're so divided right now. When you step back though and you look at so many of these photos, you realize that you have the same feelings as that grandfather pushing his granddaughter in the swing. You can relate to that. You see the kids of all shapes and sizes and colors who are having a party in their classroom, and you can remember doing that yourself. There is so much more that unites us than divides us. And I think that that is very evident in these photos. You might not look like the person that is their photo is being shown, but you felt that way. And I know we also put together, and I'm going to try to pull this up here, so forgive me for looking around, but I'm going to try to share this photo that we put together to kind of showcase some of the different groups, some of the different people that we are going to be talking about, and we're going to be sharing on this account. So here this is, and you can really see there are people, again, these are just some very just quick examples of some of the different people that we're going to be talking about. But Jeremy said something I think that was very, very interesting. And he said, look, when I look in history books, or when I think of Alabama history, a lot of times I think of an older white man standing at a podium or with a piece of paper and a speech or a map. And that's just what we have seen in our history books. That's what we have seen in our state archives. And that's not really the history of Alabama. That's not the history of the people who live here. And this is actually a lot more evident of what our history looks like.
You mentioned it, Ivana. There are so many things that unite us that we tend to ignore, and one of them is family. In almost all of these images is someone's daughter, someone's wife, someone's son, someone's cousin. And when I encourage people to just look at some of the faces that we showcase and try to think about who this person is and what their experiences is and how it relates to something that I've experienced. Whether they are cooking and sharing food. I mean, we all have that commonality of sharing food with our families, and whether it's Sunday dinners or picnics or family reunion barbecues. We all have celebrations. When you see the Native American dances, when you see some of the Asian American celebrations, when you see those, we all have those in our communities. We've all shared those opportunities to just celebrate our culture through dance, through music. When you see musicians collaborating to create a sound, no matter what sound that is, whether it is country, whether it is rock, whether it is jazz, there is that commonality there. So again, that's the opportunity here that we are offering to the state, is to join us in finding those emotions and those experiences that unite us and show that we have a lot more in common, than what divides us. We may think different politically, we may think different about certain issues, but when we sit down, we can talk about sports, we can talk about food, we can talk about family, we can talk about music, and all have something in common, even if we like different types of music. So when we look back on this 6 months from now, a year from now, hopefully we will have brought more people into the fold and help them to see that our shared experiences bring us together more than divide us, and help us to move along that path as we continue to evolve, not just as a state, but as we evolve as communities, as we evolve as cultures, and maybe put us in position to start having more conversations, start having more collaborative events that show that, hey, we have something in common here. Let's enjoy this. Let's go to festivals celebrated by cultures that are different to us. I try to do that all the time. So again, this is an exciting opportunity, not just for us at AL.com. This is an opportunity for all of us in this state to be part of something that can help rewrite a narrative that has not really correctly shown who we are, and just repaint a portrait about us as a state that really gives us an exciting opportunity to just be different and be better as we move forward.
It's an exciting day, and it's exciting to finally share what we've been working on and get it out into the world. So I'm going to repeat a little bit of what Roy said. If you want to get involved, you can send your thoughts, send your ideas on people that you would like to see represented, or collaborations that we could do, partners that we could have. Send all of that to alabamavintage@al.com. Again, that's alabamavintage@al.com. You can also message us through the Instagram account. That handle is Alabama Vintage. Send us a DM there. And if you have family photos that you think would fit in with what we are doing here, please send them on. Let us know if we have permission to share them. And we would love to share your history, your family history, and just represent Alabama better as a whole. So, Roy, I know you explained this really well. We also have an announcement from our content president here, Kellyanne Scott. We have that. We have your column on AL.com. So if you need to read more about this, and you are going to want to look at the Instagram account, all of those links are in those stories. So, Roy, it's an exciting day. I know that we have a lot more digging to do. So I know we're going to get back to that. Again, everybody, if you want to get involved, alabamavintage@al.com.
Join us. This is your
Roy,
story. Help us tell it.
couldn't have said it better, Roy. Thank you so much. Everybody watching, thank you. Go check out that newly launched account, and we will see you tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.